should be going live. Oh yeah, we're live. What is going on, Mr. Jon Isaacson? How you doing, brother?
So far, so good. It's Friday.
It is Friday, and you're up in Washington, West Coast. What's the weather like over there?
We're balmy, but next week it's supposed to get up in the 70s. So we're known for the rain, and it's delivering today. So
It's coming through today. Well, I think we got a little bit of that rain down here in San Antonio. We had some hail last night, even. And now it would be awesome if it would stay like 70.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna, I don't know, it's probably gonna hit mid 80s. Sun's gonna be out, so it's gonna be super humid and nasty. Not a good hair day, so we gotta watch out for that.
San Antonio,
baby. Look at that. We already got Miss Jamie Knox. She's saying hello. Hi, I know Jamie. She's in Dallas, meaning that's where she lives, but she's usually traveling all over the place. So I wonder where she's at today.
One of the visionaries of the year. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, man. She's a baller, bro. Like if you haven't connected with her, you got to connect with her. She's got all kinds of stuff going on. And
very cool.
You know, those kind of people that you meet and it's just like, oh, I need some more of that energy. Like
yeah.
Something there. That's Jamie all day, every day. So folks out there, if you're new to the show, this is the OG Spotlight. And what we're doing is highlighting people that are putting in work to leave this world better than they found it. Jon and I connected. Oh my God, it's probably been a year-ish.
Yeah, or more. Yeah. Yep.
And he's in the construction industry up in the Washington area. He's an author, coach. Like you got blogger. You got like all kinds of stuff going on. And your tagline, I got it. I'll start with the question about your tagline, Jon.
Okay.
Where you talk about shortening the damn curve. Did I get that right?
Yeah, shortening the dang learning curve. Yep.
The dang learning curve. Yes.
Yep.
So what's the motivation for that tagline, brother?
So I think there is no shortcut for your learning curve, right? Each individual person, whatever your career and life trajectory is, like you're going to have to go through the school of hard knocks to get to your, unlocking all those pieces. But, you meet, like you were talking about offline, you meet people that give you energy, inspiration, or ideas that help you shorten, that learning curve. And unfortunately, I've got 4 kids and most of them are in their teens. So trying to help them understand like, hey, if you listen, I can help you shorten the amount of time it takes to get to where you want to go. But of course it is just kind of nature, right? We got to learn the hard way most of the time. So that's where it comes from. Shortening stuff like this helps you shorten, but it can't replace, your learning curve. You still got to go through the ups and downs and the bumps.
You got to put in the time, right? I mean,
yep.
There's the lessons. So you've probably met people like me that they're pretty fast learners, but they're faster forgetters.
Sure.
Give me great advice, and I like, oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And then I'll stop doing it and just do my dumb stuff. It's like, man, that was hard. Well, why don't you do what I told you last time? I was like, oh yeah, that worked.
Oh, I remember now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You ever meet any people like that, man?
Oh yeah, all the time. I feel the same, right? There's sometimes people tell you something and you're just like, no, that's dumb. And then, 6 months later, you're up against the same wall and you're like, wait a minute, maybe that was pretty good advice.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And so you have a construction business back in your area, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yep. So most people know Washington, know Seattle, right? That's up in the Bay, up in the north. And our area is, you come down the I-5, which runs the whole West Coast, and Tacoma, and then you go east. There's a small town called Puyallup. So we have a construction company in Puyallup. We specialize in doing insurance work, working through dotting the I's and crossing the T's with insurance companies. Like to say specialized, but some days you don't feel very special when you're working with insurance companies. So, but yeah. Yep. So that's the 9 to 5 or the 9 to 9 or 5 to 5.
whatever it
Yeah, yeah.
requires, whatever it calls for in the moment.
Yep.
So you started that construction business. Did that start before, like in terms of sequence or chronology? You got
Yeah.
the podcast, you got the book, you got a blog, you got a business, you got a family. Like, what was the order of those things?
Well, like I think you said your dad was in plumbing, right? That what
Correct.
is what kind of got you in the trades. My uncle was in construction growing up, so like on the summers we would go to my uncle's house. I was close in age with my cousin. We grew up cleaning up construction sites, and probably one of the best lessons he ever gave was if you work hard, you'll be paid well. He never paid us by the hour, never told us what we're going to make. It was just if you guys do a good job. And I usually left every summer with a good chunk of change for school, especially as I got older. So that was my introduction to the trades, and I saw, that you could build a life, and he built his own houses, and it was like, he was skilled at what he did as a business person and as a tradesperson. So that's skilled trades. In the line of work that I do is it's called property restoration. So it's a subsector of skilled trades.
Sure.
So I answered an ad, I think this was back in 2002, for carpet cleaning. And I was looking for any and every job I could find. So they interviewed me. I was going to school for criminal justice. I thought I was going to be in law enforcement. And they said, we're starting this mold remediation division. I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll do that. And it just kind of unlocked. I had no idea what it was. It unlocked a whole nother career path. And thankfully I was paired up with a really good, the manager of that division was a really good mentor, somebody that, fostered people trying new things and contributing to the vision and everything. So I was really fortunate there. So that I think that kind of unlocked that thought, like you're talking about, is like giving back and trying to replicate, like there's been key people that have given me a boost or opened up new doors, or, like I didn't even know that existed, or I didn't know that was possible. And so, try, like you're saying, leave it better than you found it. That particular mentor definitely did that. So,
oh man, yeah. So I'm gonna try real hard not to go down the mentor rabbit hole, but it is a critically important, valuable thing, right? Like I had them, and almost like, or very early in my career. When I say early, I mean like 5 years ago and before. Like I just realized, like, man, that is so powerful. Like I can be intentional about identifying, selecting mentors, and also about being a mentor. But I was totally oblivious to it until about 5 years ago. But we got, so speaking of people that like are of mentor caliber, got Mr. Buddy Brumley out there in the audience. What's going on, Mr. Buddy? He's that guy. He's just one of those special people. You hear him talk, his cadence of speech is soothing. And he can like chew your butt and make it feel like a pat on the back. But there's no mistake. There is no mistake that
you're getting the talking.
Yeah. You follow me?
Yep.
He is definitely like one of those dudes. Oh, look, so Jamie confessed. She is in Dallas today. What's going on, sister? Okay, so mold remediation, and then it grew from there. You were exposed to it early. What motivated you to write a book? Because I got this super eye-catching how to suck less at estimating book here. And I love the title because it's like straight up, right? And I feel like that's the space that you come from. So where did that?
Yeah, so the first book so this is how do I shorten this story? So my first idea was I always knew I wanted to write a book. I really enjoy writing. If I enjoy writing more than I do, doing videos and everything else. But so I was writing like trade articles and those kinds of things. And one article in particular is like, in our industry, there's an estimating platform called Xactimate. It's a software, standardized pricing. A lot of people maybe in the broader trades might be familiar with like RS means or any
Oh
of
yeah.
those that try to take averages based on square footage and those kinds of things. It's that in a software package, and fairly specific to property restoration, remodeling, those kinds of things. And it's common in insurance work. So I wrote an article, The 10 Commandments of Exactimate Estimating. And in one of our trade magazines, it was like one of the top 5 or top 3 articles, I think in 2018. So in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, I have a piece of content that resonated with people and I got some feedback on it. And I thought, oh, well, if I were going to write a book, maybe this is something that the industry could use and would be helpful. And I had another idea on culture, workplace culture. And I think that word gets tossed around so much and has almost lost all meaning. So I thought if I could get real world, people in positions of leadership to share one thing they tried that just bombed, and then, the learning and missteps, mantra, and then one thing they tried that really worked well, but was just something simple. So I wanted to present like simple ideas. I thought if I get a group of authors together, we had a publisher lined up that had done publishing before. I thought, man, this will help. Everybody will promote the book, and then I could do my book next, right? Maybe that's the way to do it. And boy, it was good, but it's a difficult process to get a whole bunch of people on the same page, on the same timeline. And then this thing COVID hit, and so it was a real challenge. The publisher had to drop out, so I had to then learn how to self-publish on Amazon, because I didn't want to pay royalties or all that. So I didn't think it was fair to publish the group book, as my experimental book and put all these other people in jeopardy.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I bumped my book up and used that as like the test case. And if you see it, like the formatting's terrible. What's funny though is like maybe it's like not any way to compare myself to rockers, but a lot of them say their hit song is like the song they hate the most, and that book sells, it still outsells all the other books. And it's like, it's terribly formatted. It's barely coherent, but people enjoy it. And still comment on it. But anyway, so that's how I got into writing. I had an idea, realized it was providing some kind of value. And then when I didn't have a publisher backing me, figured out how to do the
Figure it out,
self-publishing.
make it happen.
Yeah, and so actually that How to Suck Less is the 4th one. And I feel like I did that one really well. It's lagging. It's not doing quite as well as the one that just was thrown together.
Man, bro, like, okay, so we'll come back to the idea of like all the thing that you think like this one's gonna be.
This is the baby. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And everybody's like, that's crap. Give me that other garbage that you just right? We'll come back to that. But in terms of, you touched on, you had an idea and you figured it out and you brought it to life. So I want to shout out and salute my friend, Mr. Will Sullivan. He's very active on LinkedIn. You familiar with Will?
No.
Okay. Aspiring Better Human, kindness, positivity. If that's your flavor, Will is your flavor. What's up, Will? Thanks for being here.
I don't like kindness and positivity. So I don't think me and Will.
Cancel Will.
Leave me alone, Will.
Oh, that's hilarious. So bringing an idea to life. So you had this thing, you were writing articles for a journal or of some sort, and then said, hey, let's get together, let's write a book together. And the gangster that I brought up earlier, Buddy, he knows all about, actually, Adam Hoots and Jennifer Lacey, I'm just telling on everybody, they are working on a book together right now.
Okay.
And the dynamic you talked about, like trying to coordinate.
Yeah.
I get to watch it, so it's awesome. I love it. I'm not in the middle of that. We're laughing. But I think the important part, especially for the folks out there in the omniverse, is going from idea to action, right?
Yeah.
You don't have
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of ideas. And so you had an idea, you had this group project, the conditions in the universe changed. So it would have been easy to like just, okay, well, we gave it a shot and it's dead. But you said, no, I'm gonna go this route. Where does
Yeah.
that come from? Is that something that's
Adaptation.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Well, that I guess you know, I think a lot of us heard growing up survival of the fittest. And I heard all not all that recently, probably in the last 5 years, it was the point of that was more adaptation to your environment as opposed to being the strongest, smartest,
Yep.
or you know,
Biggest.
financially backed or whatever. Because I mean, look at I know in our industry, there's one large company right in our backyard, like overnight was gone. And they had multiple sites nationwide. So we hear a lot of times that small businesses just kind of disappear. They pop up and they disappear. You know, that happens quite a bit, but there's some big companies. I mean, you know, our generation, like Blockbuster, right? Could you have imagined a world where Blockbuster didn't exist? Like
No,
that was so much a part of Friday night.
yep.
You know, we're gonna get the 3 movies. You know, we're all weekend long. You know, and you know, just gone. And so I think adaptation, and then uh, I guess perseverance too, right? Like you're if you I think I would ask you the same question. You sit down to write a book, right? And you think, I've got a great idea. And then 3 days later, you're proofing what you wrote, and you're like, this is the worst idea ever. Like, this is garbage. Nobody will read this. And then so you walk away for like 3 days, and then you come back to it and you're like, man, this is good. This is really good. This is gonna change the game. And then you come back 2 days later and you're like, this is crap. This is absolute garbage. I need to scrap this. This is like, what are you even thinking? So I think it's a struggle, even on content. I'm sure you feel the same way. There are days where I'm like, this is dumb. I'm never going to do this again. And on those days, I'll get an email inevitably. Hey, man, I found your content. You really helped me think better about da 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 da, or this particular interview. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll do one more, you know.
There's one more.
And that
Yeah.
I guess if you're coming from the standpoint of somebody wants to write an article, somebody wants to write a book, somebody wants to start a podcast, it was like I think it's Seth Godin that said, you know, just do it. Like just get it out there. The only way to get better is to start doing it. And I think even Stephen King says if you want to be an author, you need to do two things. You need to read every day and you need to write every day. And then and you got to put it out there. You got to be willing to like let people say this is terrible.
100%.
And but that's the only way anything gets done or can get better. So I want to use this moment, becoming the promise you are intended to be.
Uh-oh.
That you're
Yeah.
shooting for June, right?
Shooting for June. June 23rd is the target. The plan is to have the release party on June 23rd. And
Okay.
it'll be up and all that other stuff.
Are you self-publishing or you got a publisher or
Publishing
Yep,
with help.
yep.
So Princess Kim with My Sexy Business Team has been helping, coaching me along the way, and like the formatting, all the like the really tedious,
Yeah.
painful stuff. She is
Yeah.
because she's helped me with that. Right now I think next week the final edits, because I'm also horrible at editing.
Sure.
So I did speech to text.
Okay.
And then I went through and like clarified whatever the stupid thing, like whatever didn't
Yeah. What
but
the
like
hell?
grammar and punctuation, I'm not that person. Like I don't
Sure.
even see the problem. So yeah, man. So that's and you kind of nailed it, right? Like when I was thinking about these stories that I was going to share, I was like, man, these are really powerful, meaningful stories. Like I knew
Yeah.
they were powerful to me, but I think they can help people.
Yeah.
And then I go back and reread it. I'm like,
What
man,
the
what
hell?
is that wishy-washy garbage? Like, stop being a crybaby. Like, and so it was this thing back and forth. But I feel like, to tack on to what you were saying, the only way I know it's going to be worth a damn is like every idea I have, John, is brilliant. in Jesse
Yeah.
land, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
But then I put it out there, nobody gives a damn about it. So
Yeah.
then what's the point? Now, some of the like, so that helps me understand, okay, well, that idea, put it back on the shelf. But when people respond and say, no, 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 this is meaningful, that was good, that was dumb, or whatever, like the only way I'll know if I'm delivering value is by presenting it and giving
Yeah.
people the opportunity to
Sure.
respond and inform me what it is
Yeah.
that they value. So
Yeah.
that's I clearly you know that path, right?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
as disappointing as it is to like
Yeah.
edit and add little elements and stuff to a video, and then it gets 12 views. Like, okay, clearly that didn't matter to people. And the one I just record while I'm jogging, like, oh, and it gets, you know, whatever
Yeah. Yeah.
thousands of views, like for real, that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's what it is, man. That's what
Yep.
it is.
It just hits the stream at the right time or the right words or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, look, and Matt Graves, the Himalayan Hoss, who's also a huge content creator, has got a newsletter, Construction Curiosities, got good stuff. He's talking smack about me because, like, who's not writing a book? And you know what that means, though, John, is that he's got a book in the oven.
Oh.
It has to be, right? Like, that's exactly what it's got. He's got to mean by coming up.
Either that or he's just jealous.
Yeah, don't hate me because you hate me. Come on. Oh man. So I've got to check out your podcast on the YouTube. And you have a unique pronounced way of editing the content.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where does that style come from? What does I want to know more, like how you came up with it.
Yeah.
And how do you keep doing it? Because it doesn't seem like you could have a script for the way you edit, but maybe you do. I don't know. I can't see it. That's my problem.
So I started out, like I said, wrote the articles, and a good friend of mine and one of the editors at one of the magazines I was contributing to said, you know, hey, if you made little videos, it might help draw people to the content, because there's, you know, some people, not a lot of people read, a lot more people watch videos, yada, yada, yada. So I started making the cringiest videos, and I actually kind of leaned into it. Like I went and got like the cheapest microphone that wrapped around, you know, I purposely used like butcher paper for my illustrations. And then there was an Instagram account in our industry that used these little clips. So I asked him where he got his clips from. And so I was using that and editing that in. And if you go way back on the early ones, it was really bad. The volume's like all over the place and just really poorly timed and everything. And so I think I have like an offbeat sense of humor. It works in person if we know each other, but like if we don't know each other, it's like, okay. And so so it's like you know, I guess I think honestly I try in a lot of ways to, if something's working, I try to do something else.
Okay.
And so I guess maybe the punk rock mentality, but also I would call it infotainment. I think a lot of people have really good things to say, but they don't necessarily really think about the audience, right? You think more about like, I have this to say, I made it really clear, but because we would have meetings all the time and they're just not relevant. One is like safety meetings in our industry, right? And so we got this book that's super generic, rather than like thinking about what are the last 6 things that people in our business actually got injured on and how do we prevent those? It's, let's talk about cranes. Well, we're in an office that nobody uses cranes, you know, but
Yes.
corporate sent us this safety book, and so we're gonna waste 30 minutes talking about cranes. You know, hey guys, if we ever happen to use cranes, you know, we'll be ready. Like meanwhile, like this guy's got half a finger and that guy still has, you know, wood stuck in his eyes, you know, and all of us have been exposed to asbestos, and so in 30 years we'll get you know.
Yeah, we'll get on the class action lawsuit.
Yeah.
That are going to be coming out.
So that's my, I think I call it infotainment. We want to entertain you while we inform you, and obviously that's a delicate balance. So, and like you said, like messing around with shorts and trying to chop the info up and trying to get it out there. Because like if you're self promoting, if you're not dumping tons of money into somebody else promoting it for you, like you almost have to make noise to create any kind of a splash. And it, like, I think, like it seems even recently, like it's, the cards are stacked against, the genuine content creators.
Yes.
So, depending on what platforms you use. So, it's you got to I respect the hustle. And I really do like the way that you're presenting information, and I can see you're trying a lot of the same things I am to, just try to share information with people and help them, shorten their dang learning curve, or like you
That's it.
said, leave the world a better place. So
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. So I get to check it out. Or I think the first time I listened, I was jogging or something. I was listening on my earbuds, and I felt like, man, in my like when I'm running, is my phone like switching back channels and what's going on? Like it was not what I expect, because it started off right. It was we'll say a deep conversation.
yeah,
That's what I saw, and that's what it started with. And then it was, you remember Max Headroom back in the
no,
day?
doesn't
Oh,
ring a bell.
so it's like back in when MTV first came out. There was this. He was kind of,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. The floating head. Okay.
yes,
Yep, yep, yep,
and
yep,
he's like super glitchy and
yep.
like,
Yes,
I'm like,
sir.
man, what is going on? And then I said, well, maybe I need to watch this. So I start watching it, and I'm like, oh, that's on purpose. Oh, and so it's like there's these breakpoints where it is a very unique style, man, and very much
Agreed.
like the name of your, um, I don't know, what do we call it? Your marketing empire, your content empire, the the Diojo. Where's
What's the
that?
what's the opposite of a kingdom? A fiefdom? My
Five.
marketing fiefdom?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, Diojo just stands for Do Your Own Job Dojo. So
Okay.
I actually had that, I think, before Bill Belichick, but so, but the idea, always training. There's this concept in karate. I'm not a big martial arts guy, but a concept in karate that a Padawan or a trainee reaches a point where they know they could beat their sensei, but out of respect, they never would, challenge them
Mm.
or try to do that in public. And so I think that's important, like you said, like it is rare that you find mentor caliber people in your life, and that they're like that, it hits right. It's not so much value that there's 1,000 people out there that could mentor, but like all the things hit to where you guys are on the same wavelength or can challenge each other the right way. The information gets across, that someone has the time at the right time, those kinds of things. And so um, it is important to, like you say, leaving the world better than you found it is carrying on the tradition of people that invested in you. But then too, I mean, it's like the way you receive mentorship isn't necessarily the way that you're going to provide it, or that people are ready to receive it. It's wild. I like what you said offline too. Everyone has their own Rosetta Stone. So it's like you have to learn. Like we have 4 or 5 people in our office, right, in our direct office, our division, and each one of them receives information differently, and they receive it differently on different days too, depending on how they feel, or what's
If I'm
going on at
hangry, bro,
home.
I
And
ain't receiving no information.
yep, yep, yeah, yeah. So sometimes you do have to, like, I'm not a big small talk person, but sometimes that's important, right? Someone comes in and you're like, oh man, this person just wants to talk. I've got a ton of shit to do. I do not have time for this. But it's important to say, all right, this is a
What you got?
moment. This is a moment. This is a moment. I need to just hear whatever you have to say, and it's going to be better for both of us, So,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, around the mentor thing, um, it is not. I've seen this and been a part of, okay, we're going to start this mentorship program, but
Yeah.
people don't really understand what that, like, they're not equipped to be mentors.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
or and on the other hand, maybe that's another book. On the other hand, I've had people say, "Hey, can you mentor me?" I'm like, "Sure.
Yeah.
What do you want to work on?" And they're like,
I don't know.
like they knew, like somewhere they learned getting a mentor is valuable,
Yeah.
but beyond that, there wasn't much thought given. So like there's some depth out there beyond the just mentor idea.
Yeah.
And Adam Hoot says, "Never outshine the master." Comes from 48 Laws of Power.
Dude, that's
You
a
know
lot of
Adam Hoot?
laws. No.
No, awesome dude, awesome dude.
Nice to
Uh,
meet you, Adam.
yeah, man, we're getting all kinds of cool people here. You got to follow him. Hoots is coming in on the YouTube, and the Diojo podcast is also on the YouTube. So you're on. If people want to get you, are you like on all the socials, or have you like focused on one particular one?
Yeah, I guess I started making videos on YouTube. So youtube.com/the Diojo. And then a friend of mine in the industry has a podcast. And I was like, how are you getting that into just audio? So he used Anchor, which is Spotify's
Mm-hmm.
feeder platform, whatever. And then I sync that up with iTunes and those kinds of things. So I think you can find it on most what are we talking about? Podcasting platforms.
Yep.
We got a website, thediojo.com. I think I'm on TikTok, messing around with the shorts, kind of the YouTube shorts and TikTok shorts, and then Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I vacillate between. I don't know. Some people say you should just focus on the one that you enjoy and you're good at, and some people say get it on all of them. I think, like we were talking about, to some degree, they're all free, so you might as well be putting content, but they each have their own vibe, and so that's a challenge. So unless you have a team, it can be very challenging. I think Matt had a good question. Thoughts and advice on creating a formal mentorship program with a company. What
Ooh.
say you?
So I'll share thoughts, and please don't confuse it with advice. Let me put the disclaimer out there first. My thoughts around creating a formal mentorship program within a company is I've seen that, and I'll say this: the number one breaking point I've seen in like the efficacy of that type of program is the uncommunicated expectations, right? The assumptions. Because what I've seen over and over and over again, the mentor has a mindset that, well, if they want mentorship, it's on the mentee to be proactive and engage and schedule. And the fact that they're not doing that signals that they don't want a mentor, or they don't know how to value a mentor. So there's, a little uppity thinking there. Or maybe not. Maybe it's appropriate. That's not my thinking. And then the inverse of that, the mentee is like, well, they're the person that has tremendous responsibility and work to do. So I don't want to impede on their thing. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to. And because they're the ones with all the formal authority, who am I to say, hey, let's meet on this day? And so
Yeah.
both people, just because they don't have that communication or that agreement out of the gate, it ends up dwindling and falling. So maybe that's the thought, is if you're going to have it, number one, get ultra clear and
Yeah.
make it, I would even say, make it a standard. Don't leave it up to people if you're going to make this an organizational thing, but make it a standard around the rules or the terms of engagement. Meaning,
Yeah.
mentor, you're responsible for XYZ. Mentee, you're responsible for XYZ in terms of landing on a meeting time. All the rest is super subjective, because back to the Rosetta Stone. You know what? I'm going to clip that out and put it on my fans only content. That was pretty good. What are
Along
your
with
thoughts?
your feet pictures. Yeah, to piggyback on what you say, if that was going to be a part of the company culture, I think it would be real critical for that to be a part of the onboarding process, when new employees are coming in. And then I think overall businesses need to spend more resources in leadership development, because there's so
100%.
many people. So like in our industry, you come in as an entry level tech, you learn to do the job, you're doing it really well, and the company has two problems: either, well, we can't lose that per field because we lose the productivity, or we too quickly shift them into a leadership role. And when you're responsible for yourself is very different than when you're responsible for other people. And it's not that it's a special skill set that, I mean, anybody can learn it, but say they just the last 3 years learning to be an awesome technician, they're probably going to need as much time, if not more, to learn to be a good manager. Like it's
100%.
just, it
You know,
doesn't like, you were good at managing yourself, you must be good at managing other people. No,
I
not
tell the
necessarily.
manager,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
forth.
So then you get these people that either they're emulating whatever maybe they saw, so they go to the extreme of like, I'm in charge, you follow everything I say, and if you don't, then blah 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 blah. Or they go the buddy route, like, hey, I'm one of you, and then they still both, they don't get anything done, right? And it's got to be
Right.
both. You have to have relationships and processes. So
Yes.
the I guess cynically, what I hear, if a company were to say, we're starting a mentorship program, it's leadership abdicating their responsibility to actually develop the team to other members of the team downstream, would be my initial thought. Is like, hey, we suck at leadership, let's make this somebody else's responsibility, mentorship. So
Oh, yes.
but from an optimistic standpoint, if it's, hey, we want to make sure if you come into our company, we want you to stay here and be successful. Here's the roadmap. These are the people that are going to help you at this level. These are the people that help you at this level. I think I've heard of when people come into a new company, having ambassadors, where they
Yep.
say, hey, I've been here for 3 years. This is what I did that helped me, and I'm going to check in with you at regular intervals. A lot of times we're talking about larger companies, but I think smaller companies obviously could benefit from that. So um, I think, like you were talking about, a lot of it is thinking about the why. How are we going to train people to be able to do that? And then also, like, if possible, so that the mentee doesn't feel trapped, like maybe they just get somebody that they're not vibing with, right? And so,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and the mentor understanding, like, that's all right. Like, almost what they're doing with talking to therapists, right? Like,
Yep.
you can at first do an on-call, and if it's not the right vibe, you can just try another one, and not, there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's just like, it just didn't fit.
That's the deal.
um and so that, I
That
guess, that my thoughts on that. So
Love it. I appreciate the cynical and optimistic perspective because I'm right there with you. What I'll
yeah,
normally communicate to is the cynical side of it. Like, yeah,
sure,
come on. And you
yeah,
nailed it, right? Like, well,
yeah,
we're not doing, I mean, it's the exact, here's another thing. Maybe you've seen this too. I'm looking for an accomplice here, John, just to be clear. Uh, I see people that progress through an organization
yeah,
because what the current leadership, their behavior, that
yeah,
model is what got them there.
yep,
And what does that look like? Chewing everybody's butt, deflecting
yeah,
ownership of like the stinky stuff, stealing credit for all the great stuff.
yeah,
And so people start emulating that behavior, no value of people. And then when they make it to the executive level, all of a sudden the organization says, we need to get that person an executive coach because they suck with people. But the whole
yeah,
system is designed to reinforce them undervaluing people.
yeah,
Now, I'm not saying like that's on purpose, but it happens from my perspective, it happens a lot. What do you think
yeah.
about that? Do you see that? Do you experience any of that?
Well, I think I actually heard this in relationship to a pastor, and a guy said one time, you can tell which pastors, the way they preach, only hang out with like their deacon board or their
Mhm.
elders, which is similar to a company, right? You can tell what leaders never hang out with their technicians or their frontline employees, because they're talking in, our graph chart and our quarter one and our blah, 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 and they're not speaking like the people's language. And so I think when you get in echo chambers, whether that's intentional or not, you're the amount of thought in that room that's truly innovative or willing to see issues from a different perspective is so small. So I think that's why, there's a lot of people are talking about diversity and those kinds of things, and that's and at the same time talking about how hard it is to bring in new employees from new generations. And it's like, well, if all you hang around with is 50-year-old white guys, like, you're not getting any new ideas. Those are not going to be guys that are helping you, oh, this is, hey, if I wasn't an asshole, maybe I could hire younger people. I could expand, our group. They're like, no, it's these kids. It's these kids. I'm telling
Of
you, they
course.
don't know how to work.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you get in an echo chamber and all you have around you are yes people, then, the diversity of thought and the ability to grow your company. And I'm not even saying do those things because they're the right thing to do, or it's, or it's woke or something like that. Like, it's what your company needs. Like, if you don't
Yes.
adapt, like, your
Yeah.
company's going to die. Like, if you don't have, all the skilled trades are service-based industries, and if you can't bring in new people, like, there's going to come a point where it's like, we have nobody to respond to this call, and a lot of companies are already there. Like, I
Yes.
don't have anybody to go. And then,
Yeah.
but that's the incoming generation, the incoming workforce's fault. It can't be the company's fault,
No, of course not, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're innocent.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
there's ownership on both ends, I'm not going to deny that. But you got to use the perfect word earlier. I see them abdicating their responsibility.
Yeah, yeah,
And they're the people with the most influence and the access to the most resources to affect change.
yeah,
And
yeah,
they
yeah.
blame the people that don't have the resources or responsibility, connections, influence, relationships to
Yeah.
affect the change that they're seeking. So it's like, come on, bro, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Yep.
So we got another super simple question for you, Mr. Jon. Adam says, what's your purpose, Jon, and how can we help?
What is the purpose? Purpose is to help contractors shorten their dang learning curve. I think the way you can help is listen to learning and missteps and share the content that they put out there.
Oh, that is like gangsta cheating, bro. That was excellent. But you cheated and slid the learnings and missteps in there. I appreciate that, man. Oh, it's freaking awesome.
Well, I think it is cool. Like, there's this network of people putting out similar content, and like you said, I think I have a very unique way. I think almost challenging people to listen or not to listen.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's a depth there, but you have to dig for it. And so I think whatever stream, whatever content makes, it's crazy. Like the books, your book's coming out. Like, read the dang book and leave a review on Google for I'm sorry, what was the title again?
Becoming the promise you are intended to be.
Becoming the promise you're intended to be. So, that's it. I mean, I would say not just my content, but if there's a content person out there, or even you watch the dang video, leave a friggin' comment, leave a review, share it with somebody that you think it would resonate with, because we're all on our phones like all day long, but helping the little guys get their message out is big.
10-4. Man, that's awesome. And truth, like, double that for real word, like that little help, the sharing, the like,
Yeah.
it helps, right, in terms of reach. But for me, it helps in terms of like, okay, I connected with somebody.
I'll
Like,
do it again. Yeah. Yeah.
right. I'm not
Yeah.
wasting my time. I'm not just doing this to, well, maybe just a little bit to feed my ego, but it contributed, brought some value to somebody today.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a signal back to me, like, okay, all right, cool. I'm gonna keep doing this thing.
Yep.
So wrapping up, my brother. Any rather help us know or introduce us to the OGs in your life. Shout them out, please.
The OGs, I guess, speaking of trades, like, my mom had a strong work ethic. My uncle introduced me to the skilled trades. That first mentor I had, Denis, that I owe a lot to him. My father-in-law taught me a lot, taught me how to lay concrete, and we started our first business together. And then my circle is just expanding. I think, like you said, like, if you put good out there, good's going to come back, and don't be afraid of, you get an iffy feeling or somebody's just a leech, like, it's not worth the time. But it is. I think, like, the mentorship thing, I think a lot of people maybe listening to you are probably on that wavelength, and it's okay to tell people not to waste your time. So I think if you're going to get into a mentor relationship, you should give them homework right off the bat. And if they're not willing to do the homework, move on.
Next.
Like, you've got to, because there is no lack of information in this current age. Like, if people want to learn something, it's there. Like, whether it's your podcast or one of the 1,000 others, you have access to the information you need. So if they want your time, especially if you're willing to give it for free, which is awesome, you need to say, all right, but this is what my expectations are. And your first assignment is a hard one. And if you don't do it, like, go find somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I can't give you the solution.
Yep.
And the answer is on the other side of work. So if you ain't gonna do the work, it don't matter what I tell you, right? I mean, like, that's just it straight up.
Maybe I can help point you in the right direction, or tell you the things, my learnings and missteps, which I love that title, because it's true. Like, those are the lessons that stick, right?
Yeah. 100%. All right, my brother. Well, what did I forget to touch on today?
I think you hit it all. Like, if people want to listen to the podcast, it's there. We got a couple of books. I'm really looking forward to reading your book, especially with the personal story behind it. You said you're on year 7 of sobriety in June.
June 20. Oh yes, June 23rd will be my 7th year of continuous sobriety. Yes, sir. Thank you,
awesome, man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, keep rocking and rolling. So
hell yeah.
Please let me know if there's down the road, if there's things we can do to help. I think I sent you a proof. I'm working on a book trying to write to the younger people called Challenge Accepted, an open letter to young people entering the workforce, and trying to see maybe we can encourage people. It's not specifically encouraging them to only pursue the skilled trades, but maybe just think about broader terms, what a career looks like. And so.
Absolutely, man. We speak the same. I think we have the same Rosetta Stone there, John. Maybe. At least it looks the same. Yeah. All right, my brother. Well, I appreciate your time. Folks out there in the Omniverse, thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting. And we are going to exit. Oh, hold on. You want to hit the dijojo.com/book5. Is that the link?
That's the new book. I'm sorry. In the comments, I only have access to the chat. So.
Oh, got you. Let me see. Well, I can go back and do the comments afterwards. That freaked me out. Bro, I appreciate you, man, for giving us the time, opening up and sharing your good stuff. And then you took advantage and uplifted me, bro. I really appreciate that. It's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on. I really do enjoy what you're doing, and we're all, like you said, trying to leave the world a better place than we found it.
That's it. That's what it's all about.